Hello everyone, today I want to talk about the CANVAS HUB from Mosaic. The CANVAS HUB is basically a Raspberry Pi in the box with an SD card that have the Octoprint printer server and a couple of plugins from Mosaic pre-installed. It is their solution to having connection between the Palette 2 Pro, and the printer. So it connects to your local network via Wi-Fi, so you can upload the G-code files to it, and then it will send G-code to the printer and other instructions to the Palette 2 to tell it where to put splices, and then it facilitates the communication between the two so that the Palette 2 stays in sync with the printer and the colors comes out at the right time, the right place. The splices is at the right place. So you can do it yourself with just a normal Octoprint install and add in those plugins. But as a convenience, they sell this hub that have everything pre-installed, so it's just plug and play, which sounds nice, convenient. They charge a fairly high price for it, I think, and the big problem is that the Raspberry Pi inside is a Raspberry Pi Zero W, which if you go to the download page from Octoprint, please note that the Raspberry Pi Zero W is not recommended since server performance issues were observed caused by Wi-Fi interface when bandwidth is utilized, e.g. the webcam is streamed, negatively impacting printing results. I'm pretty sure they saw this part and thought that, okay, without the webcam then we should be fine, and then didn't dig in it deeper. They claim that they've done tests that show that it do perform well enough. The reason I'm even looking at this is because of a couple of threads on the forums where people are complaining about the performance. I've used Raspberry Pi and Octoprint installation on my printer from before I got a Palette. I started with a 3B and I had some issues with it, so just I switched to 3B Plus just to make sure that the Raspberry Pi wasn't the issue. And I've seen what kind of load Octoprint put on those machines, and I was pretty convinced that the Zero would not cut it. And the reports on their forums from other customers that have bought the hub is kind of confirming that it can't keep up. And when confronted with this, they say that that we're basically lying because they have done tests showing that it is performing fine. So if it isn't working for you, you're doing it wrong. Fuck off. So I got a bit curious about this. Like I said, I haven't owned the Raspberry Pi Zero myself, haven't tested it. So this is, for me, it was all based on data from other people and from my experience with the more powerful Raspberry Pis. So now I decided to actually I borrowed the normal Raspberry Pi Zero from my colleague, and I already had one of these hubs. So this is like, if you go with off-the-shelf stuff, it is oh, this has converted it to Chrome. I have this plugin that messes it up. There's $10 for this and less than $3 for this, so it's like a $13 setup instead of the $79, which is the hub. And my setup looked like this. So it's the Pi Zero, it's the hub, and I disconnected. I have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus inside my printer, so I just opened it up and stuck the cable and unplugged it from the Raspberry Pi inside here and routed it out so I can do some experiments with it. So I then did print the same G-code file with this setup. Then I just moved the SD card over to this, so with the exact same data and software. I was running the same print with the Raspberry Pi 3B, and I also uploaded the same G-code to the motherboard, the SD card on the motherboard of the printer. This printer have Duet 2 Ethernet motherboard, so I try to print from there, because that would be like the base print, because then you're pretty much guaranteed that the printer will run at the speeds specified in the G-code. And then I would like to check if the Raspberry Pi 3B oh, sorry, and the Raspberry Pi Zero, would I be able to feed it data quick enough that it could print at the requested speeds from the G-code. So let's just jump to the actual test. I printed one time with each of these setups, and then I made a side-by-side view with 3 videos, so we can see how well they stay in sync, and if there is any speed difference between the 3. After the test, I will come back and look a bit more at the threads from their forums, what Mosaic has claimed, and compare it to the results I got from the tests. So, but let's jump to the test. Yeah, and here you can see the prints going. It's for 3. I printed this in 3 different sessions. One from the SD card, one from the 3B, and one from the Zero. And then I aligned the 3 clips so that they start at the exact same time. And as you can see, the SD card and the 3B print are still in perfect sync, while the Zero is already off by quite a bit. It's out of phase with the other ones. And you can even already now see that it is printing slower. Yeah, please ignore the elephant foots on these prints. You can see that my Build-Tex surface has been ruined. It's all bubbly and destroyed, so I need to replace that. But to make sure that the prints stick, I was like pushing it down a bit, so it generated quite a bad elephant foot on these prints, but that doesn't affect the test at all. As you can see, the SD card and the 3B is still perfectly in sync. I'm printing cylinders because they do generate a lot of bandwidth, so it's a good test for this. Well, the firmware usually supports, like most printer firmware, support actually curve commands in the G-code, but most slicers don't generate those. They make circles by outputting a huge amount of small line segments, so it do take quite a bit of bandwidth and processing power to handle circles. So any kind of curves is often where you will see performance problems in the Octoprint server. So the best test for this is of course a circle, because that's all curves, all corners, and as you can see now, from the SD card and from the 3B, they're still like perfectly in sync, which is quite astonishing actually, that they've been able to keep perfectly in lockstep all the way this long, while the Zero is like sadly behind by now. And this isn't only affecting the print time, of course, it also completely ruins the print quality, because when it can't keep up, it isn't like it is, whether it's done 224, it isn't like it is just like uniformly slowing it down. It will have some sections where it is keeping up some bursts, and then it will slow down, and it will speed up and slow down and speed up, and you will get very rough surface from this. It's hard to see on this footage, but I'll show you some pictures afterwards of how the end result is. But as you can see, the Raspberry Pi Zero is completely useless for this application, and I really wonder what kind of tests Mosaic was running, which came to the opposite conclusion, because this is really clear. Like any honest person would never launch a product that had this abysmal performance. This is just a shame. So let's see, there it's done, and now, so at 3:29 So that is 1 minute and 5 seconds longer than the other two. It's 145% more time, or it was running at 69% of the required speed. So basically a 100% fail. Here you can see the result of the prints. The first is from the SD card. I didn't include the one from the 3B because it was exactly the same. And then it feds into the one from the Pi Zero. As you can see, the print quality is very different. The one from the SD card has smooth, nice lines between the layers, while the one from the Zero has very lumpy lines, and the variable print speed has deteriorated the surface quality a lot on this one. So even though it technically succeeded, it made an object, it didn't completely fail, the print quality is reduced so much that the Raspberry Pi Zero is completely useless for this task. And I'm now very curious what kind of tests Mosaic has run, because they claim that they tested this and found it to be adequate for running a printer. My tests show the complete opposite. I would speculate that they printed a square box or something that they knew would give their wanted result, which seems to be the case in a lot of scenarios with Mosaic. They designed their tests to not exercise what they know will fail anyway, and then claim that it works, and then they sell it, which I think is a very dishonest way to do things. So okay, but I'm gonna stop here now, and then I will jump back to the web browser and take a look at the yes, some more data for the test setup I had, and discuss the forum threads a little bit. So I'm gonna jump there now. Okay, so now we've seen the tests of that run. Let's see what Mosaic claims regarding the hub, what kind of feedback they've gotten so far from the customers that have bought this device. And also I'm gonna look a bit into the cost and the claims they have regarding profit levels on this device. So here's their introduction page. CANVAS HUB is the keystone of Mosaic multi-material ecosystem. Think of this as the center of everything to do with multi-material printing and the bridge that allows your hardware products to communicate with each other and come online. So, I mean, for new customers, I wouldn't be surprised if they would assume based on this that first of all, that the hub was required. They explained that further down that you can make your own, or you can even print without one. But they really give the impression that this is like the best solution if you want to do multi-material printing. This is the keystone. You really should go buy this thing for their $79. And a little bit further down there, they do tell that it's a Raspberry Pi Zero. So when I told them that, like I said that stop selling this. This is a scam. You're scamming your customers by selling this thing with a Raspberry Pi Zero that you should know very well is not suitable for running Octoprint. And the reply was that no, but we tell our customers that they have the Raspberry Pis, that it is based on the Raspberry Pi Zero, so they can make an informed decision and build their own if they don't think that is adequate. How many of the customers of this product do you think even know what a Raspberry Pi is, let alone what a Raspberry Pi Zero is, and are able to make an informed decision based on this? I would guess that quite a few of their customers won't really know what this implies, and they will go ahead and buy it. And they say that they give away the plugins for free, so So you don't need to buy the hub. It doesn't cost you anything. You can just go buy a Raspberry Pi and download their plugins for free, install Octoprint, and you're off. But all the customers that was unaware of this, they will have already paid 79 bucks for this, and that they know how to throw away because they don't accept returns. And now they have to go off and buy a proper Raspberry Pi and set this up themselves. So it's not free. So they're ripping off their customers and lying to them. I mean, there is nowhere on this page where you get the impression that this Raspberry Pi Zero is so inadequate for running a printer that you should never even consider buying this device. They give the impression that this is a well-functioning solution, and it is not. And let's go have a look at this forum thread. That's 4 months ago, where one of their customers, I want to read this in its entirety because it's a very good boil down of the problem. I'm normally pretty gentle with vendors and new products, but Mosaic, you need to admit you made a mistake with the Canvas Hub being Pi Zero W based. It is incredibly slow to boot, slow to use, oftentimes out and drops the printer connection, etc., etc. It is both an aesthetic and non-functional. Realize you probably have a pile of those and you face tough decisions about internal cost and so forth. Please realize your reputation is worth more than a few dollars at this point in your company growth. That is very true. Their reputation is, in my mind, below the floor right now. Personally, my Canvas Hub will be returned. Good luck with that. I'm building a Pi B3 Canvas Hub in another window as I write this. I'm waiting to post much of a reaction on other forums and social media until I see how you handle the small personal issue of the return and the huge everyone issue of like the small personal issue and the huge for everyone issue of the bad design decision. Ball is in your court. Try to preserve a few bucks and harm many users' perception, or own this, suspend sales of the standalone canvas right now and decide how to truly fix this. And everything works perfect and performs much better than the canvas. Yeah, because so basically he ditched it too and went for a proper Pi. And then this guy comes in and replies, yeah, I have a lot of sad things to say about this guy. But yeah, let's move on. The decision to use the Pi Zero was made so that we could have a lower cost, so that we could lower the cost to end users as much as possible. But we were also open to sharing plugins for people who wanted to create their own Canvas Hub. I'm sorry to hear that you haven't found success to your hub, but we do have users who are printing successfully with their hub and palette too. This is something he does a lot, and which is why I have so low thoughts about this guy. It's one of the things. So here you have a customer that have problems with his with their product. I would have no problem finding an object to print that would succeed with a Zero. I mean, if there is few enough segments, it will be able to keep up. So it's totally possible to find customers that have printed successfully with this. So for him to like just blow off this with saying that, yeah, but look, we have other customers over there, they printed successfully. So I'm sorry, you're wrong, the product works. That is so incredibly dishonest. And he does this all the time. Like every time you mention something, some of the massive design flaws in the palette too, like the flaws in the palette too is not flaws that make it stop work entirely. It makes it have poor performance or fail randomly. So of course you will have some customers that haven't by random hit any of those issues yet. You also have customers with printers that are so slow that they don't ever notice the performance issues with the palette. So pointing at customers that have not had issues and claiming that you're wrong because, see, look, this other customer, he printed successfully, so you should be able to too. There's nothing wrong with our product. That is such a horrible thing from a customer support dude to do. So I'm a bit shocked by that. And in another thread where after I found some really serious issue with the design of the palette too, I was seriously pissed when I wrote the thread, and I said that if this guy comes anywhere near this thread, I'm gonna go ballistic, because he only tries to derail everything. And then their COO came on, and he told me to calm down, and basically he showed the exact same attitude as this guy. So this is something that is from top to bottom in this company apparently. So yeah, basically if you didn't succeed, then clearly your fault. We have other customers. They managed to print with our products, so the product is perfect. Concerning a refund, you can find a full return policy here, and then click this link. Yeah, because he clearly wanted to return his. So we link to this page. Let's go there. And go here. Return policy. Sorry, Mosaic does not allow returns. We allow order cancellation if they are requested prior to scheduling the order's shipping, but we do not provide returns after an order is scheduled to be shipped. So it doesn't even need to be shipped, just that they have decided to ship it. If you have any concerns, oh my god, I have so many concerns, please reach out. Yeah, try that. There is no sense to be made there at all. So back here, yeah, so they don't allow return. Appreciate the feedback. Yeah, right. We never made attempts to hide the fact that Canvas Hub ran on the Pi Zero. No, we didn't. As shown in the original announcement, it's true. We even noted that we would share the Canvas plugins. Yeah, so you can build your own. You know what, Johnny? You are going to run this company into the ground with your attitude. That's me writing, by the way. Which probably reflects the attitude of the company. I've seen that later, that it is absolutely true, or they would have thrown you out a long time ago. They haven't, and they won't, because they are fully backing his nonsense. You can be as open as you want with what a hardware is, as long as it is inadequate for the purpose you sell it. The Octoprint developer is clear on the issue. The Zero is not adequate for running Octoprint. I'm pretty sure the customers that buy the hub assumes it is adequate for printing and feel cheated when they realize that it is not. What Mosaic is doing here is nothing short of a scam. Then he replies, "Hi Kurt, I've simply provided further information and links in my response." I don't know why he wrote that. If you don't feel Canvas Hub is adequate for your needs, on the information we provided, we share the plugins at no additional cost, so there is no need to purchase a Canvas Hub. Bad luck for those that already got tricked by this scam. I was lucky that I knew it up front, but I would not blame the customer for believing that the product is sold by Mosaic would be usable for the purpose it was sold. And that is me writing again, by the way. And you should have done enough research to figure out that it absolutely is not fit before deciding to go for a board incompatible with Octoprint for running Octoprint on. And for those that have wasted their money on this useless product, it is not free at all. They will then have to pay both for the hub and for the product that actually work, unless Mosaic comes to their senses and just refunds everyone that got tricked by this scam. And it's still just as pathetic as before when they try to list other customers to prove that it works. So yeah, basically what I told before. And then it's this post. In case your Canvas Hub is not compatible with a user's printer, we're happy to provide a refund. For users who are not sure if Canvas Hub will work for them and would like to test this on their own, we provide the plugin for free. Come on, where does the printer come into play? Of course, it's a problem with the Raspberry Pi. It's nothing to do with the printer. You are selling a product whose sole purpose is to run Octoprint with hardware that, according to the developer of Octoprint, is not compatible with Octoprint. You can smoke screen this as much as you want, but it does not change the fact that what you're doing is extremely dishonest and immoral. Hi Kurt. Certain printers are not compatible with CANVAS HUB. For example, MakerBot's Dremel and Dremels. The Pi Zero is not recommended to use with a webcam, but it's still sufficient to run palette and canvas plugin. Well, spool back a little bit and look at my test and see if it is sufficient to run the palette and canvas plugin. So I mean, those need to Octoprint to work first. So my tests show without any doubt that it is not. And then I asked, so he mentioned these two printers. That yeah, if you have this, they won't work. So that's why he said that if your printer was not compatible, then you would get a refund. And I asked, why are they not compatible? Do they work with a more powerful Pi, or does it not have anything to do with performance and you're just outputting random sentences as a smokescreen again? No, these printers are simply not compatible with Octoprint, which I was pretty sure that was the case, because they can't be fed G-code through USB, so you can't connect them. So it has absolutely nothing to do with the performance. So why he even mentioned it here is just mind-bogglingly stupid. I mean, what? Well, I know why he mentioned it. He wants to try to derail this thread, like every other thread that discusses things that he don't want to answer. So he throws out bullshit like this. He does that continuously. And yeah, we appreciate Fussel's feedback regarding another company usage of P0, but have found that the Pi Zero is sufficient for running our Canvas and Palette 2 plugin. I would really like to see how they came to that conclusion. So, not at all, so I refer to the printers then that he mentioned, which isn't compatible at all with Octoprint, so not at all relevant for discussion. Like normal, when you run out of real arguments, random sentences outputted as a smoke screen, which is how it does things. So it goes further there. And then there's this other trip where someone asked if he could hook a camera to the CANVAS hub, and then he said it's unlikely to be able to power the camera along with the hub. If you have a more powerful Pi, you can blah blah blah. The CANVAS hub doesn't work without the camera, so adding one, it definitively won't work. Well, the 3B is recommended for Octoprint with Pi, which includes time-lapse and camera functionality. CANVAS Hub, Pi Zero dollar based, is not meant for high bandwidth data transfer, like streaming and time lapses, and is slower and requires more patience to operate. But it is certainly capable of the intended functionality. Bullshit. Absolutely lie. And then I chimed in. You can read what Fussel have to say about the subject here. It heavily depends on G-code, the G-code you're sending it. A lot of curves, like more equals more throughput. I strongly recommend against using Pi Zero, not only if you want to use a webcam. This thing is simply ill-suited thanks to single core, a Wi-Fi interface that hogs what little CPU is available once any kind of traffic is generated through whatever means, and all that hassle if you want to connect a USB device to it. And yeah, and he chimes in on his comment that it's adequate for intended functionality. Lie. Then their vice president chimes in, and our goal with CANVAS Hub is to make it accessible, both regarding simplicity and price, and make it as cheap as possible while also maintaining a good experience. Yeah, right. The primary reason we went for the price $0 was to keep the price as low as possible. Believe it or not, we hardly make any money on Canvas hubs, considering that we have resellers to whom we must discount our product so that they can make some small amount of money. 79 bucks. Low margin. Let's see. I can go buy this off the shelf anywhere in single quantity for 10 bucks. I heard that you can get it for 5 in bulk, but let's go for 10. And then I have this hub, less than 3 bucks. And I found this Chinese. Where did? Oh no! Did I lose my? Ah. Yeah, here we go. But now that lost all the data, of course. Yeah, I found this online manufacturer or yeah, injection mold producer factory that can do injection molding. And I don't know how big exactly the hub is, but I guess 10 by 10 by 3 centimeters. Mold cavity, a single cavity. I guess the shape is yeah, a bit like this. Polypropylene, I guess, ABS. I don't know what material it is. Let's just leave it there and make an estimate. See what they expect. Does the mold need mirror polish? No. Do you need hot roller system? No. How complex is the product? Required dimensions? I guess less than 20. High precision dimension that ought to be less than 6. And let's produce it in China. Weight of the product, I don't know, but 100 grams, probably less than that. And let's calculate using these numbers. And yeah, then it estimates like $1 per unit. So then you have 10, 13, 14 bucks boom cost, roughly. And they charge 79. Let's divide that on 14. And you get a markup of 5.64. Let's convert that to 100. Okay, so it doesn't allow it to just use this. I have to actually put this in there. So they have a markup of 564%. They claim this is a low margin product that they're barely making money. Yeah. So that's interesting. 564%. That sounds more like a money making machine than a low margin product. So yeah, where are we here? Priorities need to keep it down. Believe it or not, well, I go for not. I think you're lying about most things regarding the Canvas hub. And then he goes on. Yeah, some are comfortable making their own. Not to be clear, we hear your feedback. That's absolute bullshit. They never listen to anything you say. We hear you're saying Fusel's comments. I understand that your perspective, you don't do it all. My ask is that you consider briefly this perspective. Before producing Canvas Hub, we tested running Octoprint on several different models of Raspberry Pi, including on them the Pi Zero W, the Pi 3B, the Pi 3B Plus. Okay, please tell me how you did those tests. I've tested on all those too as well. I just show what the result was between the 0W and the 3B. A very simple test that anyone can do, and it proves beyond any doubt that the 0W is absolutely useless in this application. So when the vice president of Mosaic comes here and write that they tested these three platforms and found that the Pi 0W was adequate, I would really like to know how they made that possible. What kind of tests did they run? What how is it even possible? While slower than others, the Pi 0W still meet our needs. We're constantly dogfooding, and we are always running prints in our office. Many of them are on Pi 0 with Canvas, like Pi 0W Canvas hubs. We understand that they are slower than the 3B and the 3B Plus, but in my experience, they do work. If that has not been your experience, then that's what I'd like to hear more about. So yeah, okay, they do print, and with certain objects, they will even print the same quality. For most products, they will produce a much lower quality. Do you really want to sell a product to your customers that make your other product, like as $80 product, that make your $800 product look like crap, and defend it with claws and teeth on this forum, trying to claim that you haven't made a mistake when you designed it. It's just beyond belief. So yeah, that was a little bit about how the Canvas Hub is working, and a lot about my thoughts about how Mosaic is handling it. And this is only the hub. I mean, I'm going to come back later with all the issues with the Palette 2 and Palette 2 Pro, their main product. It has some really serious design flaws that they are also denying flat out. And even their COO came online and made a complete fool out of himself. So I'm gonna go back and have a look at that. I will probably do some review of the palette as well. So, yeah, that's it for now. That's what I think about the canvas.